Welcome to the Wellington Astronomical Society Night Sky Tour for July 2025. In this video we're going to be looking at the moon phases, how to find the planets. We're going to also talk briefly about the Lagoon and Trifid nebulas and the Moon Spica conjunction before our usual night sky stellarium tour. Let's get started. So looking first of all at the moon phases, so we get first quarter on the 3rd of July, and then we get the full moon on the 11th of July. Last quarter is on the 18th, and then the new moon is on the 25th of July. In regards to the planets, so Venus is the morning star at this time of year, and so it's going to be rising at around about 5 a.m. before the sun, so it'll be low and bright on the eastern horizon before sunrise. And it'll be very easy to spot Venus as the brightest object in the sky other than the sun and the moon. And so it'll be rising at about 5 a.m. and that time is fairly consistent all the way through the month. Saturn is rising at around midnight. Well, in fact, it's rising at about 1 a.m. early in the month, coming back to around 11 p.m. by month end. Now, Mercury's got its greatest elongation on the 4th of July, so what that means is that Mercury has its greatest visual separation from the Sun on the 4th of July. So what this means is that you can see Mercury briefly after the Sun has set. If you look low in the western sky, you'll see Mercury there, but probably only for about half an hour or so after sunset, before it sinks too low into the western sky to see it. Mars, however, is set up for good viewing at the moment. It will be high in the western sky at sunset. So, in fact, it'll be making a line with Arcturus, Bright Star, and Mercury. So that's one that you can look for. Mars has been quite kind to us in terms of how visible it's been in the last few months. Okay, so let's talk about the Moon Spica conjunction. So we've got a near occultation of a bright star by a toenail moon happening. So all this means basically is that the moon and Spica narrowly avoid occupying exactly the same piece of sky at the same time. It'll be a toenail moon, and Spica is a first magnitude star, so it should be easily visible. So Spica will be just less than a moon's width away from the moon, and the time to look for this is the 31st of July, right at the end of the month, 6:30 p.m. onwards, high in the northwestern sky. So what this is going to look like is, if we look at it, we've got this kind of triangle formation here. We've got the moon at the top and we've got Mars and Arcturus there. Okay, so you can see that's in the northwestern sky. You can see the moon and Spica are very close together. If we zoom in on that a little bit more, you can see the two of them there. This is about as close as they get to each other. So, you'll see that very easily in binoculars. Probably worth looking for if the sky is clear. 31st of July, 6:30 p.m. Okay, so the big news this month, of course, has been the Vera Rubin Observatory in Chile coming online and publishing the first image, which is the Lagoon and Trifid Nebula. There you go, you can see it on the top left there. And the observatory, the largest digital camera ever built, and it's pointed at the southern hemisphere night sky, so we're going to get some fantastic imaging of that as time passes. It's going to be generating petabytes and exabytes of data off the night sky. So the target that it looked for, the Lagoon and Trifid Nebula, these are quite popular targets for astrophotographers, at least. So it's up there at the moment, up high in the night sky. You can see I've put a marker there where it is. So it is almost directly at opposition right now, in fact. So it's fairly close to the constellation of Sagittarius. And you can see it there kind of along the belt of the Milky Way. And we'll be talking about the Milky Way in a little bit more detail as we go through our night sky stellarium tour. So let's get started on that. Let's start just as the sun is going down on the 2nd of July. So as we see the sunset, then there's the planet Mercury just setting just after the sun. So this is only about 6:15 in the evening at the moment. So still some light in the sky, but we've got this kind of line formation here. We've got Mercury there, and we've then got Regulus there, bright star, we've then got Mars, and then we've got the moon, and then we've got Spica, all kind of lined up, pointing up towards the zenith point at the top of the sky there. So that's a rather nice formation that you can see. just for the next couple of days there. We've also got the bright star Arcturus there, of course, in the northern sky. So let's advance the time on a little bit further. So let's move on to around about 10 o'clock or so. The moon's getting close to setting. So what we've got then in the sky at the moment is we've got Arcturus there, which is a bright kind of reddish orange star. Okay, you'll have Altair there at the moment as well, which is quite a visible star. And then high up, almost at the zenith point, you will have Antares, which is the heart of the Scorpion, the winter Scorpion, of course. And then over here we've got the anti-solar point, so that's just the point where we're looking in completely the opposite direction from the Sun. So anything at the anti-solar point is said to be at opposition. So let's have a look at what the constellations are at the moment. And we can see, because it's the middle of winter, we have Sagittarius at opposition. And so that's why the Milky Way is so clear to us at this time of year, because we're literally looking directly into the heart of it. In fact, the black hole at the center of the Milky Way is called Sagittarius A star, because it is in Sagittarius from our point of view. So we're in the middle of winter, just a few days past the winter solstice. Sagittarius is at opposition, and so we've got all our winter constellations in all of their glory for us to look at. So there's the Scorpion there, the winter Scorpion, of course, with Antares at its heart. We've got Sagittarius, we've got Ophiuchus, and higher up in the sky, we've got Centaurus and Lupus and Parvo, all of these winter constellations, allowing us to enjoy the different constellations as the year progresses. So turning off the constellations so we can just see the night sky there. So we can see that this is the absolute best time to be observing the Milky Way, because the arch of the Milky Way is passing directly overhead. Okay, now the Milky Way is fantastic to just look at in all of its glory and just look up and see all of the different objects along the Milky Way. So depending on how dark your sky is and how powerful your binoculars are and so on, if we turn on the deep sky objects, you can see that there's a huge number of deep sky objects, all kind of clustered along the Milky Way. Some of them are more easy to see than others. Others of them you'll need a telescope to see. So if we have a look at the red circles here, so the outer red circle that we've got on the screen there represents the field of view that you would get in the 10 by 50 binoculars that we recommend for astronomy. So you can see that as compared to the size of the Milky Way, you could see quite a lot of detail in the Milky Way if you found a dark sky on a moonless night and just sat back and just looked along the Milky Way. So some of the brighter targets that you can see at the Milky Way, of course, the first one to look for will be the Eta Carina Nebula, which will be in the southern part of the sky. So we're looking kind of southwest at this point. Okay, so you'll have the Eta Carina Nebula there. That's an easy one to see in binoculars. But you've got star clusters, you've got the galactic kiwi, you've got some dust clouds, you've got the glowing heart of the Milky Way, all of these things that you can see just with a pair of binoculars. You don't need to have a telescope to appreciate the Milky Way. However, there are a couple of other targets that you can have a look for as well outside of the Milky Way. You can see, if we zoom in a little bit, we've got this one here and this one here, these faint blobs, these faint clouds. You can actually see them under a dark sky with the naked eye, and that gives you an idea of their size compared to the binocular view there. Sister galaxies, large and small Magellanic Cloud. Okay, so they're fairly low to the horizon. They're at about 20 degrees altitude, so you'll need a reasonably clear view to the south to be able to see them at this time of year, unless you want to wait until the early morning when they'll be up a little bit higher in the sky if you want to do some morning astronomy. Okay, now talking about morning astronomy, of course, at this time of year, so let's advance ourselves to around about 5:30 in the morning and look in the eastern sky. We've got Venus coming up there, and we've got Rigel, just the first star out of the Orion cluster. And then underneath Venus, of course, the one that everyone's talking around this time of year, is our good friend there. Let's turn these circles off is our good friend Matariki. Okay, so as the month passes on, you'll get a better and better view of Matariki because it will be rising earlier and earlier. So if we advance the clock to around about the 20th of the month, then we can see that Matariki is coming up at around about 4:20 a.m. and there's plenty of time for it to get up in the sky before the sunlight starts to wash it out. So that's a good one to look for, and you can see that if you are going to do some morning astronomy, this part of the sky is particularly interesting because you've got Orion coming up here with the Orion Nebula and Rigel there, bright star there, you've got the three stars of Orion's belt there, of course, and the other stars, Bellatrix, Betelgeuse. Venus will be there, of course, and Aldebaran, which is another red giant star. And then we'll have the moon, and then we'll have Matariki. So there's a busy piece of sky in the northeast if you want to get up and do some morning astronomy early on, later on in the month, towards the end of the month, after we've lost the brightness of the moon. And other than that, of course, we still have the possibility for high solar electromagnetic activity. So there remains the possibility for auroras to happen, as mentioned last month. So keep an eye on that, and hopefully we'll get some more auroras during this solar cycle. Well, that's it for the night sky for this month, and happy observing. Hope you can see some of the objects without it being too cloudy. Thanks for watching.